we made this mural that's called Women of the Resistance, and it like features 38 women, and Judy Brady's like right in the top middle.
That was artist and muralist Lucia Gonzalez-Ippolito. This is Storied San Francisco, and I'm Jeff Hunt. Before we get into this episode, we wanted to let you all know that you can now buy hella marked down Storied San Francisco merch and donate to a great new nonprofit. Throughout the month of December, we're donating proceeds from any sales to Supply Hope Info. More on them in future episodes. But for now, head over to the store on our website, storiedsf.com, get some rad, locally designed and printed merch, and feel good that you're helping out students in need. Back to the show. In this podcast, Lucia picks up where she left off in part 1. She talks about getting a degree in child development from City College, and then going to the San Francisco Art Institute. She started apprenticing with other muralists, including her dad, before branching out on her own in 2012 with her piece Mission Makeover, located in Balmy Alley. Across the alley is another of Lucia's murals, Women of the Resistance, which she describes in the podcast. Lucia ends this episode with reflections on San Francisco during the pandemic, as well as her hopes for what comes next in the city. Here's Lucia.
I mean, I've always just been drawing. I mean, since I was a kid, I was always just drawing and like doing cartoons. And then I started like kind of painting a little bit in high school because of art classes. Right. And then when I went to college, I majored in painting.
Okay.
I ended up going to San Francisco Art Institute.
Nice.
And that was, I mean, well, I first went to City College for like 9 years, and then I went to San Francisco Art Institute.
Before they made City College free, you're like, damn, I want my money
I know,
back.
right? I was paying a lot of money for that. Yeah. And I did a lot of different things at City College, but
yeah. Were you teaching also that during that time?
Yeah, like I went to City College and got my associate's degree in child development.
Oh, okay.
And then I ended up going to get my bachelor's at San Francisco Art Institute.
Okay.
And then and then before that, I was like, first gone to Chicago Art Institute for like a year.
Okay, that's
when
a big deal.
My grandfather was still alive, and I was like living with him, and that was really cool. But I was young and like didn't appreciate it as much, but the program was like amazing.
That school's a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, so is SFAI.
I mean, they were both extremely expensive. I couldn't afford either of them, but the painting skills I learned were like worth it. And then from that was like when I was really painting, was in college.
Yeah. This is totally because I'm ignorant of. Like, I have an idea of what SFAI did and specialized in. Did they have any, like, courses or any stuff about public art and murals? Or
You know, the only class they had that was, like, about political art was because of this one teacher, Art Hazelwood, who's an activist and an artist and he was friends with Joss Sansis, who was friends with my mom, who introduced me like a long time. I've known him since I was a kid, and like when I found out he was teaching there, I was like, oh yeah. So he taught this class called political printmaking.
Cool. And
he taught us like the history of like political posters and
woodcuts.
Yeah, and woodcuts, relief, ruby liths, like all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And we started a collective in SFAI called the San Francisco Poster Syndicate.
Nice.
And we first were like speaking out against like the treatment of the adjunct faculty there, and kind of making fun of the dean and like how much money he had, you know.
Yeah.
And then we kind of just expanded, and it's no longer just SFAI, but SFAI now is like has so many problems. I mean, it's just like really like very corrupt. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Is the collective that y'all started there, is it still going?
Yeah, we still we have we print mostly. We try to have it's a free service. We distribute it's more like for education, and it's kind of just this generous act of like offering educational artwork to the public.
Right on.
And we print at protests, at political events. You know, we've done stuff that's like been in the street sheet. It's been in like, you know, Tecolote. It's been, you know, so we have stuff in like the Library of Congress.
Oh shit.
And so, yeah, I mean, that was when I got into screen printing.
Okay.
And with Art Hazelwood. And then, so after I graduated, I ended up trying to collaborate between the women. Like I had met along my like path of muralism and school and everything, I had met some really amazing women artists my age, and I invited them all to be part of a meeting with Poster Syndicate that we were having, because Poster Syndicate wanted to do a mural.
Okay.
But the thing is most of the members were not painters. So, and I was saying I invited them to have this meeting because I found a spot. It was like on this garage. And my mother kind of started this apartment building as like also a collective of women. And
Nice.
it was Judy Brady, who was on the first floor, was also an activist. And so my mom wanted something that like wasn't about her, but kind of honored her a little bit too. So we made this mural that's called Women of the Resistance, and it like features 38 women, and Judy Brady's like right in the top middle. And
when did
that was 2017.
17. Okay.
And it was kind of a collaboration between San Francisco Poster Syndicate and a bunch of like female artists that I had met, and are really, really good friends with now.
Do you want to talk about the mural across the alley?
Mission Makeover mural,
Yes.
the one I did with my dad. Yeah,
Yes.
that one.
When was that?
That was 2012.
12. Okay.
And that was like my first mural.
Oh, it was the first one ever?
Well,
or?
I mean, I had helped on murals before. I had helped, like, you know, Juana Alicia's Sacred Waters and her oil spill. And I had helped Danielle Galvez restore the Carnaval mural. And I had helped Josh Sances, like, in the Castro Valley Library. And I had kind of just, like, helped on things and done, like... I mean, me and my dad did, like, a mural that's still there, actually, in Jury Commons Park. But it was like, it's just so like, I don't know. It was like a group thing, and I didn't really consider it my mural either. But
so you were almost like apprenticing with all these, right?
Yeah, I felt like I was apprenticing.
And then now it's like, boom.
Yeah, and then this one was like my design. I directed it.
How'd you get the space?
Well, it used to be these two waves on those two doors.
Okay.
And the owner, who's my neighbor, like came out, and I just asked him like what he was gonna do, you know. And he said that people were asking about painting one of the doors, or like one artist on one door, one artist on another. And I was like, well, I'll do both doors and the whole wall surrounding it. You know what I mean? He was like, okay, and it was like fresh paint, fresh wood. You know what I mean? So I was like really excited about it because it was just like this really brand new canvas.
Do you want to talk about the process? I guess the thought process of designing it.
Yeah, I really wanted to make something that spoke to the youth of the neighborhood and talked about gentrification. And so...
In its like 74th wave in 2012,
Yeah,
right?
for sure, yeah. I know, and now looking at it, like, that whole scene looks different, you know?
Right.
But I kind of had, like, a lot of different drawings that I collaged together, which since then has kind of become like my process, where it's like every design I do is usually a collage of images that I put together or that I draw together. And so this was like, I wanted the top to be very symbolic and a lot of kind of more like kind of abstract imagery, and then the bottom is like the two doors represent my two perspectives of like the mission I grew up with and the mission that's kind of like remodeled and revised.
Right.
And so it's kind of like the bottom half is more a localized look at oppression, and then the top is kind of more global.
Okay, got it.
So it's like the door on the left is like a lot of like mom and pop shops that aren't here in the neighborhood anymore. Like Carlos Bar isn't here anymore. Discolandia isn't here anymore. La Victoria. I mean, luckily they have like a little spot, but it's not the same. And so and then the 48 bus with like a lot of homies on it, and then these two homies that are getting arrested by the police, and the kid that's sitting on the bench, he like happens to have Skittles in his pocket that's pouring out. And at the time I was like trying to reference like Trayvon Martin. And the car that's right there is like crazy because we were just going to paint a lowrider in there. And then Benjamin Baxiera, who is a professor and in the neighborhood and has done a lot of like activist stuff. It's his car, and he was cruising through with Alex Nieto in his car, who ended up being murdered 2 years later
by the cops.
So it was just a trip to think about that now.
Yeah.
And then the other door is like mostly just kind of like,
yeah,
like the Star Sucks, like the cop cheersing with the kind of yuppie lady, and then there's like all these hipsters in the background and techies and every shop on 24th Street is a coffee shop or a boutique, a fancy boutique. I should have put yoga studios too, but there wasn't any back then. Now there's all these yoga studios.
Yeah.
There's like 3 different yoga studios right here.
Yeah, and like I used to live at 20th and Mission, and like now it's half that block is different kind of exercise, and I'm like, who's exercising this damn much?
It's so weird. Like you never used to see like people jogging either like this. Like I'm just like, what the hell? Like it's so weird.
Do you want to talk about so like that piece came first, and the one on this garage was 17, you said?
Yeah, this one was 2017. Yeah.
Okay, well that's like
it's
obviously
a big gap.
Yeah. But do you want to talk about like the reception to your art? Now it's like out in public and it's yours.
Yeah.
Like what was the reaction?
To that mural, I mean, it was. I mean, I had never thought it was gonna like blow up the way it did. I mean, everybody loved that mural walking by. I mean, maybe because we made it so detailed, but also I think because we just made it so relatable to the neighborhood. And yeah, I don't know. It got just a lot of like really good feedback, and yeah, I mean, every time I've had a mural, like we always want to do like a party afterwards. So
because it's a big deal. Right? It takes a long time. And
there's been like kind of parties sort of in the alley before, like Placa, like they had like the Placa, like kind of like anniversary event and stuff like that, but this was the first time there was like a big like block party, and since then I've like tried to host a few block parties in the alley, like maybe 5 now or something, but it's all that's always
you did fun. One during COVID too, right? In October. How'd that go?
It was good. It was like surprisingly went well. I mean, we had to kind of walk around and tell people to keep masks on, and at times it did get a little too clustered because it is this tight little alley, but I think overall, like, it was just really good for the community because people are so like just so drained of this and like in need of socializing, and it's like how are we supposed to like unite and make any change if we can't come together? You know what I mean? I mean, like, how are we, like, that doesn't make no sense, and I feel like I understand all the restrictions, and I understand like cases are rising and we have to do what we have to do to be safe, but at the same time it's like, we can't keep like pushing people away from each other, and like it's just gonna cause more violence and more depression and more suicides and more all these terrible things, in the economy. It's like we need people to rise up, especially now, like if Biden's gonna be president, like it's like we need people to be out in the streets demanding him to like move to one side and be, demand for change, because that wasn't gonna happen with Trump.
Yeah.
And it's like everything with like every time there's been like some Democratic president, that it's always been more successful for grassroots organizations to be able to rise up. And it's like, how are we supposed to do that if we can't organize.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was part of it too. I mean, Gaia 24 was. I had talked to them about hosting with me.
We just had Rodrigo on the podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
Super cool guy.
and I invited a lot of local artists and local vendors to come, and we had music, and it was just really beautiful. I mean, it wasn't like a political event, but I felt like, it's just
almost by the nature of it.
Yeah.
Sadly, it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about kind of the only thing I can think of that's left is the city and maybe your hopes for what's next, the next iteration of San Francisco, because eventually this is going to end. A lot of people have left.
Yeah.
Which is probably a good thing. I'll go on record saying it's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think it was Jeremy Fish, who we had on the podcast, pointed out that the people left are the people who want to be here. So there's all this potential for what's next.
Yeah.
Have you thought about that much at all, or?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was, right before the pandemic hit, I had already left for Mexico.
Okay.
And I was only planning to be there for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up getting kind of stuck there, but it was really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just working on my comic book and hanging out with my dad and being in my family's house. And
Was that in Merida?
Yeah,
Okay.
and eating tropical fruit every day. So I was like, I don't even want to come home.
That sound you hear is my stomach growling.
But so I didn't see a lot of the initial stuff that happened.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just heard about it. Mm-hmm. But when I got back, it was definitely really weird, seeing how many businesses were shut down and how many stuff was boarded up, and seeing all these empty, condos and everything. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's it's kind of like when you evict people from here. I mean, it's not like they just disappear. They ended up going to Antioch or Burlingame or something, and it's the same with these techies that they either went back to their homes in Silicon Valley or the Midwest, but they also moved in our gentrifying Northern California now too, around Humboldt and Sonoma and stuff like that. So it's it doesn't really go away. But I would hope that it's I don't know. I mean, the rent didn't necessarily it did kind of freeze for a little, dropped, and then it just went back.
Not
so
even
it's
close to
not
enough.
even enough. So
Yeah.
it's just I don't know. I hope that it's there are a lot of really good little projects happening. And, the Latino Task Force
Mm-hmm.
and the mission is something that's happening that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of organization is what we need to keep doing. And we need to keep fighting for our mission, no eviction, and keeping families in their homes and keeping affordable housing, affordable.
Yep.
But we'll see, I don't know. I think people are tired. So that's hard too, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't really organize protests or anything like that, but I'm here for it. I'm here for whatever people. I think we have to get organized. We have to, because it's the other side is plenty organized
And rich.
Mm-hmm.
As fuck.
with
Yeah.
their guns and everything. So it's we have to, and I'm scared. I'm kind of scared about what's gonna happen. I feel there might even be a civil war that breaks out in the next year. So
Yeah.
we just have to remain calm and support each other and keep helping each other, and hopefully we'll win. And we won't have to worry about San Francisco keep turning into this giant metropolis of just money, and all we care about is money. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, you look at you look at Oakland too, and it's just God, there's streets that are just blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks of just homeless encampments.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, with the pandemic, the services are just it's getting so much worse. I
Yeah.
mean, there's way less. I mean, there wasn't any really mental health services before, and now
Right.
there's none. So it's scary.
Do you want to just reflect on, San Francisco's your home? Do you want to talk about
Yeah, I
You
mean, I
mentioned
feel like
some of it,
I feel
but-
like I've been kind of negative, but it's
No,
like it's just a lot.
that's
You know,
honest.
I
That's
think
honest.
that I think a lot of us who grew up here just have kind of like this love-hate relationship with it. You know, it's like there's no. I mean, San Francisco is such a unique city. You know, like we live in a what do they call it? It's I want to say Mediterranean climate. Right, and there's like I heard there's like only one other place in the world that has our climate, which is like I think Santiago,
Italy
Chile,
or
or something.
Chile, okay.
Yeah, I think so. And so it's like, you know, and then we have just these rich landscapes. I mean, we live in like an estuary with all this wildlife. The Mission in particular is just like, you know, this valley that absorbs all this sunlight. And then the food, you know, all the cultures that come together, and then the history of the artwork and the political movements. It's like there's nothing like it, you know. I mean, and so it's sad what's the changes that have happened, but it's like the art that's been created out of this, and like trying to, you know, stay with remembering the past and fighting to keep it, I think is really important.
That was Lucia Gonzalez-Ippolito. On the next episode of Storied San Francisco, you'll get to know Rodrigo Duran, the marketing director for Calle 24 Latino Cultural District, and the host of Real City Ambassadors. Please join us for episode 43 next Tuesday. Music for Storied San Francisco is by Otis McDonald. Photography is by Michelle Kilfeather. The show is hosted and produced by me. Michelle and I have produced more than 130 episodes over the last 3 years, and you can find them all at our website, storiedsf.com. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, where you can like, comment, and share the stuff we put out. Find the podcast just about everywhere you can listen, including, most recently, BFF.FM's new podcast network. Please subscribe to stay up to date on all the content we publish. We love feedback, so if you have any, our email is storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening. Stay strong, stay safe, and stay healthy.
This podcast is a proud member of the BFF.FM podcast network. Learn more at podcast.bff.fm.
BFF.FM, best frequencies forever.